A quiet night at Heartland should have felt safe and ordinary, but this evening carries a tension that cannot be ignored. Amy Fleming, who has always been seen as the calm center of her family, sits across from her sister Lou with a secret she can no longer hold back. Her hands tremble slightly as she tries to form the words. Lou notices the unease, but doesn't yet realize that her life is about to change forever. What begins as a small conversation about family and the future will turn into a revelation that no one in the room is prepared for. And in the corner, where no one is paying attention, little Lindy is listening closely, her innocent world about to be shaken by the truth. The evening is still across the ranch. The kind of silence that comes after the horses have been fed and the day's work is finally done. The golden light of the lamps fills the living room, throwing long shadows on the wooden walls. Amy sits on the couch, her shoulders stiff and her eyes lowered, as though the weight of her thoughts presses heavily against her chest. Lou places 2 cups of coffee on the table, her movements calm, unaware of the storm her sister is holding inside. Their conversation begins with ordinary things, small words about Lindy's school, about the ranch chores, about the plans for tomorrow. Yet beneath Amy's short replies, something deeper stirs. She doesn't meet Lou's eyes, and when Lou finally notices, her smile fades into concern. Lou leans forward, her voice soft, asking if something is wrong. Amy tries to dismiss it at first, offering a weak smile, but her hands betray her. Gripping the coffee mug too tightly, knuckles turning pale. The sound of the clock ticking fills the silence between them, louder with each passing second. Lou's expression changes from curiosity to worry, sensing that her sister is fighting an inner battle. She presses gently, reminding Amy that they have always shared everything. That nothing is too heavy if carried together. Amy exhales slowly, her breath shaking, and sets the mug down with care, as though afraid that even the sound of it hitting the table might shatter her courage. She begins to speak, her voice low, almost whispering, but stops before finishing the thought. Her eyes flicker toward the hallway, unaware that Lindy is nearby, sitting with her small drawing pad, crayons scattered around her. The child's ears perk up at the unusual tone of her mother's voice. The atmosphere grows heavier as Lou keeps her focus on Amy, waiting, her patience tinged with worry. The bond between sisters has always been strong, but this moment feels different, fragile, like stepping onto thin ice. Amy's body language reveals everything she's trying not to say, the tapping of her fingers, the way her lips press together, the restless shifting in her seat. The room feels smaller, as though the truth itself is pressing against the walls, it's demanding to be heard. And then Lou speaks again, her tone firmer this time, insisting that Amy stop holding back. She assures her that whatever this is, they can face it as a family. Amy lifts her head, her eyes glistening, caught between fear and relief. She knows the time has come, yet the words refuse to leave her mouth. Silence stretches between them, but the silence is louder than any words they could speak. Somewhere in the house, a floorboard creaks, a quiet reminder that they are not alone. Lindy, curious and unaware of the weight of adult secrets, tilts her head and listens more closely. The stage is set. The sisters are face to face, one desperate to confess, and the other unprepared for what is coming. In that moment, everything feels fragile, the air heavy with unspoken truths. Amy gathers herself, searching for the courage to break the silence. Knowing that once she speaks, nothing will ever be the same. The words Amy has carried for so long sit like a stone in her throat. Her lips part, then close again, as though she is afraid of what will happen if the truth finally escapes. The room feels tighter. The firelight flickers against the walls, and every second of silence feels heavier than the last. Lou leans forward, her brows knit in concern, her coffee forgotten. She reaches across the table, her hand brushing Amy's arm, urging her without words to let go of the secret she is gripping so fiercely. Amy swallows hard, her eyes fixed not on Lou, but on the floor beneath her, as though the truth itself is too painful to look at directly. Finally, her voice trembles into the air. Lou, there's something I never told you. Something I've kept inside for years. Her words hang there, fragile, but sharp enough to pierce the stillness of the room. Lou's breath catches, her chest rising and falling quickly as she senses the weight of what is about to come. Amy closes her eyes for a moment, gathering strength, and when she opens them, the courage in her gaze is mixed with fear. She speaks again, her voice steadier this time. "It's about Ty. It's about the choice I made the night everything changed." Lou stiffens, her mind racing, her thoughts leaping back to the painful years after Ty's passing. When Amy had carried the burden of grief with quiet strength, Lou's lips part but no words come out. Instead, her silence becomes the loudest response Amy could hear. The truth begins to spill. Not all at once, but piece by piece, like water breaking through a dam. Amy admits that there were things she never shared. Decisions she made that might have changed everything if they had gone another way. She admits that she has carried guilt, the kind that gnaws at her during the still hours of the night when no one else is awake. Lou listens, her eyes wide, her breath shallow, her entire being shaken by the honesty pouring from her sister. The words are painful, but they flow freely now, each confession cutting through years of silence. Amy's tone is steady but broken, her voice dipping with sorrow as she describes moments she kept hidden, choices she feared Lou would never forgive. Every syllable strikes Lou like a wave crashing against a fragile shore, forcing her to confront emotions she thought had long been settled. The room feels colder, fire's warmth, unable to touch the weight of the revelation. Lou finally whispers, almost too softly to hear, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Her voice cracks as the question lingers, full of disbelief and hurt. Amy's eyes shine with unshed tears, and her answer is quiet but firm, "Because I was afraid of losing you, too." The words slice through Lou's heart. The bond between them has always been unbreakable, forged by years of shared joy and loss. But now it trembles under the weight of unspoken truths. Lou's hand retreats from Amy's arm, her fingers curling into her palm as though she is trying to hold herself together. In that same moment, a faint sound breaks through, Lindy shifting in the hallway, a quiet gasp escaping her lips. Amy and Lou do not notice, too lost in the storm of their conversation, but the child's wide eyes blink in the dim light. She does not fully understand, but she knows this is something important, something that will change the way she sees her mother and her family forever. The confession is out, but it has not brought peace. Instead, it has set the stage for wounds to reopen, for questions to rise, for bonds to be tested. Lou sits frozen, her mind spinning, while Amy stares into the silence, waiting for her sister to respond, her heart bracing for the fallout that is sure to come. In the hallway, where the glow of the living room lamps barely reaches, Lindy sits with her legs folded beneath her, crayons scattered on the floor. What started as a simple drawing of horses and wide fields has been abandoned. The soft scratching of her crayons has gone silent, replaced by the sound of her mother's trembling voice drifting through the half-open door. Lindy tilts her head, her small hands resting still on her lap. Children may not understand every word, but they know the difference between ordinary talk and the kind of voices that break under the weight of pain. Her wide eyes fix on the shadows flickering across the wall, Amy's silhouette bending and shifting as she speaks. The words come muffled, heavy, though enough reaches Lindy's ears to make her chest tighten. She doesn't move, afraid that even the soft creak of the floor under her weight might give her away. Instead, she listens, heart pounding faster. With each revelation her mother lets slip into the room, the rhythm of the house feels different. The steady ticking of the clock, the low hum of the fire, even the occasional groan of the old wood seems louder tonight. Lindy clutches her drawing pad against her chest, as if holding something close could shield her from the invisible storm taking shape in the room ahead. Her young mind pieces together fragments of sentences, names spoken with sorrow, choices revealed in broken tones. She does not yet understand their full meaning, but the fear in her mother's voice is enough to plant worry deep inside her heart. Lou's voice cuts through next sharper, higher, shocked. The sound makes Lindy flinch. She has heard her aunts upset before, but never like this, never with this edge of betrayal woven into her words. For a moment, Lindy imagines stepping into the room, climbing onto the couch beside them, and asking why everyone sounds so sad. But she doesn't move. Something inside her tells her this is not a moment meant for her, even though she is part of it now, simply by listening. Her small fingers tighten around the crayon in her hand until the wax breaks, a tiny snap that startles her. She glances quickly at the living room door, terrified that the noise has given her away, but the voices inside are too caught in their storm to notice. Amy's voice drops again, soft and heavy, and Lindy bites her lip. It is the kind of tone she has only heard when her mother thinks she is alone. Standing by the window late at night, when she thought no one else was awake, the innocence of the hallway collides with the gravity of the living room. Lindy is too young to carry the weight of what she hears, but already she feels something shift inside her. It is the first time she has realized that grown-ups, even the strongest ones, carry secrets that can shake the ground beneath them. She doesn't know exactly what Amy has confessed, but she knows it is important enough to make Lou's voice tremble, important enough to bring tears to her mother's eyes. As the words continue to pour out, Lindy pulls her knees tighter against her chest. Her drawing pad pressed close, her crayons forgotten on the floor. She feels caught between two worlds, the safety of childhood and the harsh truths of adulthood slipping into her ears. The hallway feels smaller, colder, and her heartbeat echoes in her ears. She wants to run, to escape into her room where everything feels safe, but something keeps her rooted in place. Curiosity, fear. Work to rent. Amy and Lou. Without knowing it, Amy has let her daughter step into a story she was never meant to hear. And though Lindy remains silent, her innocence has already been touched by the shadows of that truth. What she carries away from this night will shape how she sees her family, her mother, and the world beyond Heartland. Her small fingers tighten around the crayon in her hand until the wax breaks. A tiny snap that startles her. She glances quickly at the living room door, terrified that the noise has given her away, but the voices inside are too caught in their storm to notice. Amy's voice drops again, soft and heavy, and Lindy bites her lip. It is the kind of tone she has only heard when her mother thinks she is alone. Standing by the window late at night, when she thought no one else was awake, the innocence of the hallway collides with the gravity of the living room. Lindy is too young to carry the weight of what she hears, but already she feels something shift inside her. It is the first time she has realized that grown-ups, even the strongest ones, carry secrets that can shake the ground beneath them. She doesn't know exactly what Amy has confessed, but she knows it is important enough to make Lou's voice tremble, important enough to bring tears to her mother's eyes. As the words continue to pour out, Lindy pulls her knees tighter against her chest. Her drawing pad pressed close, her crayons forgotten on the floor. She feels caught between two worlds, the safety of childhood and the harsh truths of adulthood slipping into her ears. The hallway feels smaller, colder, and her heartbeat echoes in her ears. She wants to run, to escape into her room where everything feels safe, but something keeps her rooted in place. Curiosity, fear. Work to rent. Amy and Lou. Without knowing it, Amy has let her daughter step into a story she was never meant to hear. And though Lindy remains silent, Her innocence has already been touched by the shadows of that truth. What she carries away from this night will shape how she sees her family, her mother, and the world beyond Heartland. The voices in the living room fade into a heavy silence. And for Lindy, that silence feels louder than anything she has ever heard. She presses her small body against the wall, hugging her knees tightly, as if the wooden boards could somehow shield her from the sadness she feels pressing in. Her crayons lie scattered around her like forgotten toys, their bright colors dull against the shadows. A drawing she started earlier, horses running free in an open field, sits unfinished at her feet. She stares at it for a long moment, and the horses no longer look like freedom. They look like escape. Her young mind races, trying to piece together fragments of words she has overheard. She knows the name Ty. She knows the way her mother's voice trembles whenever she speaks it. And she understands enough to sense that this secret is about something precious, something lost. She wants to ask questions, but the tone of her mother's voice and the sharpness of her aunt's words keep her frozen. Adults always say children should be too young to understand, but Lindy knows more than they think. She knows what pain sounds like. She knows what fear feels like. And tonight, she feels both. Her chest tightens with an ache she doesn't have words for. She presses her cheek against her knees, blinking back tears she doesn't want to let fall. She doesn't want to cry because crying feels like weakness. And she has always wanted to be strong, like her mother. Who carries the weight of the ranch? The family? And the memory of the father Lindy barely remembers. But tonight, Amy doesn't seem unbreakable. Tonight, Amy's voice cracked like glass. And that shatters the image Lindy has always carried of her mother. The urge to run floods through her. But not in the way of a tantrum or a child's sudden outburst. It's a deeper urge, a quiet one. The kind that pushes her feet to move before her mind even knows what it wants. She rises slowly, careful not to make the floorboards creak, her heart pounding in her ears. The voices in the living room continue, softer now, strained with exhaustion rather than anger. And Lindy steps back into the safety of the hallway shadows. Her small hands clutch the drawing pad as if it were a lifeline, her fingers smudging the crayon lines she worked so hard to create. She tiptoes toward her room, but before she reaches the doorway, she stops. She looks back once more at the light spilling from the living room, the silhouettes of her mother and aunt caught in their silent battle. In that instant, Lindy realizes something that chills her more than the secret itself. Adults can be broken too. She slips into her room and closes the door gently, the click of the latch sounding like thunder in her ears. Inside, the darkness feels safer, but the safety is fragile. She climbs into her bed, drawing her knees to her chest again, pulling the blanket tightly around her shoulders. Her crayons remain clutched in her fist, colors melting into her skin. She wants to draw again, to cover the sadness and colors of green fields and blue skies, but her hands will not move. For the first time, she feels the weight of knowing something she cannot unknow. A single tear rolls down her cheek, and she wipes it quickly away, whispering to herself the promise every child makes in moments like this: tomorrow will be better. But deep down, she wonders if tomorrow will bring back the world she knew, or if everything has already changed forever. The room feels hollow after Lou walks away. The echo of her words lingers in the air, sharper than any shout could have been. The fire still burns in the hearth, but to Amy, the warmth has vanished, leaving her cold and shivering even though she hasn't moved. She stands frozen in the middle of the living room, her hands trembling at her sides, her breath shallow. For years, she has carried her secret alone, convincing herself that silence was protection. But now that it has spilled into the open, she feels exposed. Stripped of the armor she has worn for so long, she lowers herself onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. The tears come quietly, falling between her fingers, soaking into her palms. They are not the tears of relief, not the kind that follow release. They are heavier, the kind that remind her of everything she might have broken. She hears Lou's voice in her head, repeating those words again and again. You've done the opposite. You let me live in the dark. The truth of it cuts deeper than the guilt itself. Amy lifts her head and stares at the empty chair across from her, the one where Lou sat just moments ago. The space feels vacant, but in her mind, it is full of judgment, full of disappointment. She whispers into the silence, her voice hoarse, "I'm sorry." The words fall flat, swallowed by the stillness of the house. No one hears. No one answers. Her eyes drift toward the hallway, where the faintest sound of a creaking board reminds her that the house is not truly empty. She thinks of Lindy, her sweet, innocent child, and a fresh wave of panic grips her chest. Did she hear? Did she understand? The idea that her daughter might carry this truth, even in fragments, terrifies Amy more than Lou's anger ever could. For the first time, she feels as though her role as a mother has faltered, as if her silence has not only hurt her sister, but has reached into her child's world. She rises unsteadily, pacing the room. Her footsteps echo against the wooden floorboards, each one a reminder of the weight pressing down on her shoulders. She stops by the window, staring out into the night. The stars are faint, veiled by drifting clouds, and the moonlight barely touches the fields beyond. This land has always been her refuge, the place where she felt closest to Ty, the place where she found strength when grief threatened to break her. But tonight the ranch feels distant, almost foreign, as though it, too, judges her for what she has confessed. Her hands press against the glass, cold against her skin. She whispers Ty's name, soft enough that it almost disappears into the crackle of the fire. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought keeping it to myself was protecting them. But I was wrong, wasn't I?" The question lingers in the air, unanswered. Carried away by the silence that has grown heavier with each passing second, Amy closes her eyes, and memories flood in nights when she held Lindy close, mornings when she watched Lou smile. The family moments she cherished while keeping her secret buried, all of it feels fragile now, like glass that has already begun to crack. She wonders if she can ever repair the damage. If the bond between sisters, between mother and daughter, can withstand the truth she has finally let slip. The fire pops in the hearth, a sharp sound that makes her flinch. She wipes her tears quickly, straightening her posture, forcing herself to stand tall even as her heart aches. Because no matter how broken she feels inside, she knows the world will still demand her strength tomorrow. The family, Lindy, and yet deep down, she wonders if she has the strength left to give. The house has fallen into silence, but it is not a peaceful silence. It is heavy, charged, the kind that lingers long after words have been spoken. Lou's footsteps echo faintly as she retreats upstairs, each step a sign of distance. Each creak of the wood carrying her anger and disbelief further away from her sister. Amy remains in the living room, standing in the glow of the firelight. Her tears drying against her cheeks, her body weighed down by the guilt she can no longer hide. The bond between sisters, once unshakable, now hangs by a thread. In the quiet of her room, Lindy lies wide awake beneath her blanket, clutching her drawing pad against her chest. The crayons she once held with joy now stain her small fingers, but she doesn't notice. Her young heart beats fast, replaying the voices she overheard. She cannot put all the pieces together, but she understands enough. Her mother is carrying something heavy, something painful, and Lou is angry because of it. For the first time, Lindy feels caught in a world too big for her. A world where the adults she trusts most are no longer steady, no longer certain. She whispers softly into the darkness, "It'll be okay, Mama," as if the words can travel through the walls and soothe the wounds she has seen without being seen herself. Downstairs, Amy presses her hand against her chest, trying to quiet the ache inside. She feels the weight of Lindy's unknowing eyes even though her daughter is not in the room. A mother always senses when her child is near, when innocence brushes too close to truth. Fear grips her. Fear not of Lou's anger, not of her own guilt, but of the possibility that Lindy will carry this burden before she is ready. That thought pierces Amy more deeply than anything else, and she sinks back into the couch, whispering a promise to herself, "I'll find a way to make this right." But upstairs, Lou stares at the ceiling, unable to close her eyes. Her sister's words replay again and again, each confession cutting deeper. She presses her fist into the blanket, anger mixing with sorrow, love colliding with betrayal. She wants to forgive, but the wound is fresh, too raw to heal. For Lou, the question is not only what Amy has done, but whether she can ever trust her again. The ranch itself seems to hold its breath. Outside, the night wind rattles the windows, and the horses shift uneasily in the barn, as though even they sense the fracture in the family that holds this land together. What once felt like the safe heart of Heartland now feels fragile, uncertain, threatened by a secret too big to remain hidden as the fire burns low. Amy closes her eyes, Lou stares into the darkness, and Lindy clutches her drawing in silence. 3 lives connected by love, but now divided by a confession none of them can take back. The question of what comes next hovers in the air, unspoken but undeniable. Will Amy's truth tear the family apart, or will it be the first step toward healing? The screen fades to black, and the silence deepens, leaving only the weight of the unanswered. A line appears in stark white against the darkness. Heartland, Season 19, nothing will ever be the same.